Holbrook New Media.
This is Jeffrey K. Holbrook. Welcome to the audio feed from holbrooknewmedia.com. Today, Geoff and Jeffrey, the weekly catch-up. We hope you enjoy the audio version. If you want to see what we look like, I will embed the video for this episode at holbrooknewmedia.com.
Hello, everyone. I'm Geoff Blanchard, and next to me is the co-host, Jeffrey K. Holbrook, and this is the weekly catch-up. And we're back, and welcome, Jeffrey K. Holbrook. We've had a couple of weeks break, and I'm dying to get back into seeing what's been happening and just having a good old chat for an hour.
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is that title was very, very fancy. I had not seen that one before. That was exciting. I like that. I was thinking, oh boy.
That was on my list of what have I been doing in the last 2 weeks, and one of the lists is updating the intro. So I had a bit of a practice with After Effects. Mm-hmm. And I put that one in and sort of merged it with our other one, and sort of looked okay anyway. But I thought it just looks really good. Just the weekly catch up and the thunderstorm coming in and the lightning blowing it away.
Oh
so
no!
That looked really well.
Oh, I'm totally impressed with that. That was that was really good. I think that was worth waiting a couple weeks for. Sorry about last week. So sorry about last week. You can tell. I don't know if you can hear on that side because Skype has a tendency to take depth out of my voice. It compresses it out, when it comes across. My local recording will have it, but then I have noticed that over, if I do something really super deep, it has a tendency to compress it completely out in Skype, and so on the video version it won't be over there. But anyway, there is a massive, I guess you would have to call it a flu, but it's something that's been going around where I work at and some other places too. And it's not something, I got my flu shot like you're supposed to, but it isn't something that, you just have some symptoms and maybe achy or something like that. It is something that completely knocks you down. Some people, I was down for 2 solid days. And I mean, to the point of crawling across the floor to get around the house. Once I woke up and found myself laying on the floor in front of my front door.
I said that would be very good for a show. You start crawling across the screen.
Yeah, I was going to say. It's something that's really knocking people down. Some people are down for 3 or 4 days. I mean incapacitated. And it isn't just something where you're just aching or something. I mean, really, really bad. And I haven't been like that in a long time. And so it's kind of scary whenever you wake up and you're not quite sure how you got where you're at in the house. And the cat's, of course, sitting there looking at you like, oh, he's awake. He'll want to play now. Stuff like that.
No, I don't. Not well enough to have a play at the moment.
First they have to get off the floor, and then we'll think about playing. Yes.
Well, that's the last week, because I never saw your email until late on, so I was sort of getting prepared, and then I've always before I finish, I sit down, always check my emails just in case, because way I do, I'm not getting up at 5 a.m. to do it. It's at night, so it's no big deal if it's not happening there. But the only thing, I've just got the intro finished, and I was really excited to use it. You see, and it's another week. So I'll have to keep that under wraps for another week. So.
Well, you kept the secret really well, and you just sprung it on me. That was very, very nice. I like that. I'm impressed with that.
Yes, well, I really did. And did you notice I introduced myself and you this time?
Yes, you did, because that was something. After several shows, I was thinking, he never says who he is. And I know they assume you're Geoff. If I'm Jeffrey, then you must be Geoff. But there's plenty of Geoffs in the world. But I don't know. I think it's good for you to introduce yourself there.
Yeah, I think so too. Does it make a difference anyway? So, well, since we've last spoken, apart from you being deadly ill, and that, I've been out and about a bit. I had oh, you've got your Darth Vader. What was it? Your different faces. So that was what you was
Faces
looking
of Vader, yeah. Very good.
Ever got a flu-ridden Vader?
No, I don't have one where he's yeah.
Well, I've been messing about a few things. So I don't know. I've said that. Don't know if you noticed from the Tech Down Over shows, but I've changed the camera
Mm-hmm.
that I'm using.
Yes,
Now,
yes,
so
I saw where you mentioned that the other day.
because it's actually quite good, this one. I've had that before, but I thought I'll get back to the start using the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And so while I was off, I decided to go and film my mother and trying to get some bit of her life on film.
Sure.
It was sort of a bit of a trial because you have some questions and then they just answer the questions and say, no, and you had to prompt them saying, no, well, if you was talking to me, you wouldn't just say that. What about all the stories you tell me about this and that, and trying to prompt them. But I made a big mistake of trying to loosen her up, and I said, so it's like something, remember the time that I did this? And that just did it. And she burst into laughter, she laughed that much she was crying. I said, I'm never going to live that one down, am I? I said, I'm 55 now, you're 90. I said, you're going to remember that forever. And I won't say what it is.
It's not in public anyway.
Now, every time I mention it, she just loses it. I'll put what I'll do probably. I'll get the video and just put that on, do a little video and said, this is this is some things you don't do when you're trying to prep somebody for interviewing them. Don't tell them something because then after it, she's telling me something, wiping tears from her eyes and blowing in that. So I thought, oh yeah, that looks good. I brought her to tears in the thing on there. But what was quite interesting on that one, I did have the Canon XA10, and that's why I changed it, because I wanted to do that, to use the Canon XA10, and I took the Panasonic FZ1000, so I was going to do a multicam shoot of the two things on there. And what I did do that, but I was saying to Rick before, what I didn't realize that the Panasonic, yes, it only has a 29-minute recording time, but it breaks if I record for 29 minutes, it's 6 minutes and 12 seconds files.
Oh, wow.
So then I've got 6 minutes and 12 seconds files by about 50 or 60, and then I've got 5 XA10 files, which each time I start and stop, with them all in the one thing. So I thought, goodness, because with the multicam, you've got to have it continuous or all done together. So I did a few different ways trying to get it out, and I got part of it synced because I used the boom mic on the Canon through the XLR connections to get a good sound quality. And so I was going to put that when I did the multicam thing, but I had to sit down with figured out that the first track on the Canon was 18 minutes and 48 seconds long. So then I matched the files to that. So I said, okay, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I've got 38.38 seconds left. So that must be those ones that match up to them. So I had to join them all up together, and created a multicam clip out of that. So once I'd got that done, it did work, but it was quite a tedious type of operation to do that. But what got me thinking about that as well, and why I'm mentioning it on this one, because I was listened with great interest, was with your Uncle Mo and Hammy.
Oh, did you listen to that?
Oh, yeah, I just enjoyed that. So,
I'm glad.
I was saying, sorry about the poor quality, but when I listened, it wasn't poor quality. It was really good considering. Well, how old was that? When was that done?
Oh my goodness, that was done. Let's see, my father-in-law died 25 years ago. And so that cassette was done right around about that time. And then I just discovered the cassette in I got a hold of this thing that would allow you to, it's a simple device that allows you to play cassettes, and then it has a USB cable, and then you can just record them straight into Audacity. And so I did that, goodness, a couple of years ago that I transferred it over. And then I just got it and played with it. And I didn't actually, when I did it then, I didn't know enough about Audacity to do noise reduction or anything. And so I imported it, and then just here before I released it, I went ahead and did some more noise reduction and, tried to make sure I enhanced it as good as I could. And then I released it as the podcast. Since we weren't going to have a Geoff and Jeffrey show, I wanted to release something. And that's something I've always just thought was cool. And that is one of the things that's near and dear to my heart is, stories from the old folks, like you were talking about with your mother, getting some of those. And so whenever I retire, one of the things I'm planning on doing is reviving the WV podcast, the West Virginia podcast that we were doing, and just going around the state with my little digital recorder and talking to people and just letting them tell their stories. And again, there'll be a lot of veterans. You can get their stories. You can get older folks telling their stories. But this guy here was, talk about a storyteller. Now, he's originally from Missouri, and that's Uncle Mo. He's originally from Missouri, and he it sounded like an old 50s radio show, because he would say, well, and we was doing this and we was doing that, and he had that resonator guitar on his lap with a harmonica up here, and then he'd just go into the next song. Well, I'm a thinking of the next thing we were doing while we was there,
Enough of this here talking. I feel a song. Let's do a song.
Oh yeah.
That was what was on. I wasn't expecting that at first. It was, enough of talking or whatever. And then he got his the harmonica out, and then started playing that in the guitar. And I thought it was just so good. And I even nearly tried to answer the phone in the middle of it because it's a ring, ring. But that's how good the sound quality was. I thought, is that my iPhone ringing? Because it had a like a more electronic phone sounding. Sound, but I thought that was so good. So was that your father-in-law?
No. My father-in-law was gone at this point. This was a tape that he did to send some, just to tell Dee Dee, my wife, some stories about what they'd done in the war.
And that's the thing.
I'm getting an echo from you all of a sudden.
You are?
Yeah, it's been going on just for the last little bit.
Let's have a look. So, are you getting an echo now?
No, it stopped, I think. Go ahead, try it.
Okay. Well, it must be that other shot that I haven't switched the camera off. So it must be because I've changed the camera around. And if you're getting an echo, it's because it must be doing two sounds. It's doing the sound. Like, let's try it. You'll be getting it now.
Yep. There we go.
Yeah.
You sound like.
Can you hear me now? Still?
Still echo. Yes.
Yeah, because I've taken my foot off. I'm not on the microphone, the lav. I've taken my foot off. So
yeah, it sounds. Now that echoes. It's not the double echo like you had before. That's just room noise.
Well, now I'm on the camera. I've just proved it. It's just the camera.
Right.
And if I switch to this shot, I'm dead on that one.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Okay, you're good now.
I just took my foot off. I just switched off the other mic. So it's that one. I won't use that shot again for this one because it gives you a double whammy of the sound, a bit of a room echoey one on there. But as I said, that was got me thinking to do that. And I thought no matter how good or how bad you do those things, it's all good, isn't it? Because
yes.
It doesn't matter, but some of the times the rubbish bits become good. Because if somebody said, I want you to go and sit down there and be a bit of a character and do this and do that, it would never have happened, would it? And like I found, one of the things I found, I was looking around, there was Philip Hodges in California. He was on doing a thing about recording family and had all these questions to ask them and that. And I think it's a good idea to get the list of questions, film them and ask them first, like I did, and I filmed quite a bit. But then I'm going to go back and talk about you get questions out of that talking, which will make it even better that you can elaborate on. Like I asked my mother, what was your first job you got? And she just answered me.
Yeah.
I said, well, yeah. but you always tell us about when she was 14, because she said she got her first job when she was 14, started on a milk round delivering milk when she was 14, and she had to drag the cart round. They didn't have a horse to do. They had a cart they dragged round and went and delivered milk. And she always used to tell about her characters and the people she meets. And like one of her first customers she used to go to, she went to deliver the milk. I met that lady on one of my trips to England. She was said to Mrs. Cleveland, and she met her. And to this day, Mum's 90 in July, and she still talks to her daughter. And they're great friends, have been great friends for years. But I said, that's the sort of thing. How did you meet Mary from your first customer that you went to see? And all the different things. I said, hey, we're recording this. You can be as foul as you want. Tell me all the stories, because like you always used to say, when in the old days when they used to come round to deliver the milk, and when people haven't paid the milk bill, she used to say they used to say some horrible things, and that you could hear behind the door saying, "Oh, quick, hide! It's the milk woman." She said, never used to say it as not. She said, I've told you what they used to say. But you can say that. I said, because if it's too bad, I'll take that out. But sometimes, I said, you're the last member of the family to do that. So you can't offend anybody. So, and it's not going public or anything. And even if it does, I said, it's just your life. And even with doing that, I got quite some good footage on it. So, and I love that I did get her bawling her eyes out laughing, because that's one of the great things about my mother. She's not like, for a 90-year-old woman in that generation, sometimes the don't like a bit of a dirty joke or something like that. But she doesn't matter, as I said. But when it gets her, it really does get her. We had, I had to call, I thought I was nearly going to have to call the paramedics once when she was watching, I forget what it was an Eddie Murphy film, where he dresses up as all the characters.
I don't know the exact movie, but I know what you're talking about.
Something like, I think, The Nutty Professor.
Okay.
And one of the things in there, she roared that much with laughter in one of those. It's just like some things she can just picture them, but it was really disgusting what they would say. But she could just see the humor in it, and it wasn't the dirty phrase. It was just so simple. But I'll tell you after the recording stopped what he said, because it's not a general viewing tag, but it's not totally disgusting. But but I'm glad I did catch that on there, because as we said, doesn't matter if it's no good. I've got, at least even now, I've got something recorded now, and like some people say, the best time is now, because you might not be able to get the chance tomorrow. And you've said not about even people, but even places. You've said, I'll go there and film that tomorrow. Oh, I might do next week. I've got next, but you never know. It might not be there next week. So
exactly,
the best time to do these things is now. So I did get some good fun out of that, and I had bought I think I've told you before, I'm not too sure, a little shopping cart for about $20. You can drag and take your groceries in. But I'll use that to put my tripods in, because it's got a pull string on the top. So I had pulled that in. But I've got a music stand with my boom microphone on it, and that was done there. So then I just put it out there, did it over her head, so she didn't have to wear a lav mic. So I got the boom mic just out of the shot. So then she didn't feel so conscious by having the microphone. But I know what I'll do next time, though. I'll start talking to her. And before we start, so let's just have a chat before we start filming. But I'll be filming, because when we stop, she opens up and says,
"Yeah, the whole point of filming, and the nervousness that people have, especially when they see that little winking light up on top of it." I found that back in the day when I first got a VHS camera that sits up on your shoulder, I just put a piece of electrical tape over that little light on the front of it, because people are looking for it. And there were times when I would just hold it on my shoulder without looking through it and be talking to people, and you'd be at some event or something, and you just get to the point to where you can actually steer the thing around the way you needed to without without actually looking through it. I'll just check it every now and then. And, people act so much more naturally whenever they don't believe you're filming or they don't, really know what's going on. It's okay to be filming, but the just that little light on there is what makes everybody nervous. And they just, wonder, how do I look? Never mind. You've been looking at them the whole time. Everyone around them is looking at them the whole time. It's just if it's being filmed, it makes them nervous.
The great thing with the Canon as well, it's got that I've switched that off because you can switch the tally light off.
Okay.
But it was quite strange. Like, the first question, I just said, just for the camera, what's your name? And she, said her name, and then she said, should I say anything more? And I said, you're speaking like that. I said, you never speak like that. Because I said, let's get rid of that. It's like, oh, are you the queen now? And I said, but it's a bit like, you don't speak at all like that. She's got a thicker English accent than me, of course. But I said, what else would you like me to say? So you can't. But it is you. We all do that, don't we? We put some airs and graces on sometimes when you think you're being. But people don't like that. They like the real you and like to see what's what you've got to talk about. So I'm going to go back another time and get some more filming done. So, and then Rick's saying, well, that would be really good if you did that with the GH5 now, wouldn't it?
Oh, totally, it would. I didn't know if you wanted to save that for Tech Down Over, but of course, I was going to ask if you'd pre-ordered, but maybe you better save that bombshell since you've been making so much of a deal of it on Tech Down Over. Maybe I better let you make any announcement on that show.
I still haven't done that. It's I still don't know because then it's like I've got a camera. I've got 2 or 3 cameras. I've got enough cameras, so I'm not going to be destitute if I don't get it. It's not like, if I don't get it, I can't go out filming. I've got enough cameras there that I can still do that. But as I was saying before, with I still went out filming with the Panasonic. I went out on the bike and did a bit more filming, and then I bought myself. I can say that because you like that. I bought a new lav mic.
Yay! Okay.
On that because I got the original one. I was saying I'll Tech Down Over. I got the original one, but it was a load of rubbish. So it didn't because it goes onto an iPhone or a device like that. And so you stick it in your pocket. Very convenient to do that and does some good sound and easy to sync up. But the earlier one, I did it outside when I was doing some recording. It seemed to work really nice. But because there's a lot of outside noise, I couldn't hear the horrible hiss and that in the background. Whereas you get it inside, like recording it in here, and it sounds like pretty much in a whoosh. And I thought, is that my just phone? I haven't got it set right. Everybody else seems to think it's really okay in doing that. But then I heard, oh no, the first generation wasn't so good. And then I had that dilemma. Have I got the first generation or the second generation? So if I get the second generation, is that going to be just as bad?
Yeah. And
it is just me. But luckily, the second generation had a grey plug, and all the first ones had just a black plug. And so, because I saw it said Lav Plus, I thought, well, it must have been the plus indicated it was the next one, and I can thoroughly recommend that one. It does such a good job, that one. And it's come down. It used to be about $79, and so you'd probably get it for about $50 in your money. It's $58 an hour, so but that's more than a good one to do that. So, and I had my other Lav one for the recorded with Mum, so I've got this 20-foot cable for this one that plugs into the Canon as well. And I was just saying, I haven't done much with that. Then I got that out and I snapped the clip. And I thought, and I couldn't put it back together, so I had to get a Sennheiser clip and modify it to that, but that works now. So I've got that. Then I've got the Zoom, not the Zoom, the Tascam.
Tascam.
I was going to put that up to it next because it's much easier to do it through then. Like you've said before, it seems to do a much nicer quality sound. You can seem to get a decent quality sound on that, and they're so much more portable as well. So I'm quite not excited, but pleased with myself that I have been out doing a bit of film, but now I've got to put it together. I've been taking quite a long time splicing the mother bits together to get it. Now at least I've got all the clips together. I can start editing a bit of that out and see if I've got any decent footage on that. And I got her to look at me and not the camera, so it's not a look at the camera thing. But I thought, hey, we've got to start somewhere. So
oh no, that is fine. You're the one that taught me to look at the camera, because, like you say, I hadn't had as much experience with video, and I just noticed that you were doing it all the time when I was looking at the thing, and here I was looking at you like on the screen. And so, I realized that was the better way to go. And you've also loosened me up quite a bit to where, just free talking on camera is something, because if you listen to any of my earliest podcasting, it's very formal, very scripted, very formal. And, and I was just listening to some of our old WV podcast episodes, and there are interviews where I talk to other people. The interviews were very, very nice and very informal like this. And, we're just having a conversation. Then the stuff to where, the rest of the show is, again, kind of stiff and uncomfortable. It's just what it sounds like to me now, looking back on it. And so, I have learned a lot from associating with you. You've loosened me up quite a bit on not being afraid to actually speak candidly and just normally on camera. And I do appreciate that, because, like you say, I think I needed that.
Well, I must admit, I probably did exactly the same thing, but it's just, what do I like watching? I like watching people just speaking the mind and having a good chat. When I see this other people, there's others I'll listen to that might have a 20-minute podcast that they rehearse, edit, and put together. But that's a different type. It's just news gathering. It's sort of like telling you about something. It doesn't matter. But if two people are chatting, as I said, the freer they are, the more interested you are, because you see all the things from the Panasonics, the Sonys, you see all that manufactured stuff. You know everything's going to be perfect in their world. You like to see somebody talking about a camera or trying something and showing you it, and it doesn't work out, because you really appreciate that. Because if you listen to a lot of the pre-done things, you think you're a bit of a fool that you can't handle this, you can't handle that. But it's the sort of thing that I think, oh, thank goodness, I'm not the only one who messes up these sort of things. And whereas you don't get that from all the proper manufacturers, but you do get it from people out there. They say, I've messed that up too. So, oh, thank goodness. And I think that's where social media and all these things, like you look for reviews on items. Like nowadays, if I can't find somebody on YouTube talking about a product and saying some good and bad things, or people saying bad things, I won't buy it, because I thought, if I can't find some information out there, it must be so bad that nobody's got it yet, or else they can't deliver what they're promising at all. So it makes a big...
I found when I was driving back from Florida, of course, I had plenty of time to listen to podcasting. And so I, of course, backloaded a bunch of podcasts. And there's this one podcast to where, and I like the guy, and I've actually had conversations with him before. And he has a podcast to where he used to work with a public radio station. And he actually produced podcasting for a public radio station. His podcast is amazing. The quality of the voice, the way it is, it has that, public radio feel to where there's music in the background. He's playing like guitar, and he has different guitar types of parts and things where he plays guitar, and it's in the background, and he just sounds so perfect and so public radio, and it's just clean. I mean, it's just beautiful. And I could get through about 3 episodes, maybe 20, 30-minute episodes. What you're talking about, and it surprised me, I couldn't take it anymore. I mean, and it was, right. I mean, it was just too perfect, and I just found it wasn't as dynamic, I guess, where people are, uncertain or whatever they do, or the different emotions and things they have, it was like, this is the way things really are. And in the background, there's some guitar, kind of going, and and it's just a wonderful thing. And whenever we're going to be working on this, well, it makes you think. It really gives you an emotional response whenever you're doing, I mean, and this goes on for, after about an hour of that, I'm just kind of like, okay, I think it's time to move on to something else, because it was just, like you say, just entirely too perfect. And it just wasn't natural. It wasn't human.
I've loved listening to Tom Sinclair. He's in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
He does. Have you seen his podcast? He does one called Streaming Idiot.
You've told me about it. I need to go and listen to it.
I love to watch, because I'd love to do a podcast like he does,
mm-hmm.
that spends half an hour or nearly an hour just talking to himself, really talking to the camera, saying. And he has some experiments, and some things don't go right, but the majority of the things go right. But that's part of the fun on there. You learn with him on how to do some of the things, and he's just such a likable guy. You'll have to watch him, because you will like him, Tom Sinclair. And I always feel a bit like I'm insulting calling him streaming idiot. But like he always says, when you call yourself the streaming idiot, you ain't got anywhere to go down from there. It can only get better. So if they've got that impression, he said, so the expectation is very low to start off with. So, but he's such a nice fellow in that. So, and he shows you all the different things. Like Rick is into, the vMix, whereas I've got Wirecast in there. He's into the vMix part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, as I said, one of the big things they've been looking at in that vMix is they've got a new way of doing a video call without using Skype.
Oh.
So you just go to their site, type their code in, and you can go straight in and not use Skype. And they said without any delay, you can go right round the world and not have the downfalls of Skype, because lately there's been a lot of people complaining about Skype and going out of sync.
Oh.
And that's no, we've never experienced it, but like we did in the first shows where we recorded it, but I think that was my problem. That wasn't Skype, so I'm not blaming Skype for that. But I think other people have had that, where the people just haven't, the audio's gone from Skype and it's just not been in the right order. And I know I was watching what was it, Tony and Chelsea Northrop doing their show, and one of their shows, the last 10 minutes, it sort of was 10 minutes behind. You heard the thing 10 minutes in front, when you were still seeing it was 10 minutes behind. It went really out of sync.
Wow.
And that was the Skype or something on that. So it was quite awkward. And I thought it was, that far out. It wasn't just a few seconds,
mm-hmm.
but the picture was totally out, and I forget which way it went, but it just went totally out of sync. And I love their shows, and it was just getting into it, and I thought, was it just me? Or then I rewound and it went back exactly to the same point. But as I said, there's always something good to watch or listen to. And we were saying before about the GH5, just before I came on, I always keep typing Panasonic GH5, and it's amazing how many different new things you get that's been there for weeks that you never saw before. And you just type the same search result,
mm-hmm.
and then you say, there's so much content, you think they just can't possibly get through it all. But you can sometimes, I think I'll get an overload, so I might have already got through the excitement of the new GH5 by looking at what everybody else has been doing on there. So
mm-hmm.
I have also been looking, I don't think I'll ever buy, but it's always nice to think about this, but looking at drones again these days. Okay. Because that's the sort of thing I like to enjoy, but I don't think I'll ever buy one, because for some reason I just don't want to be one of those people. It's crazy.
Oh, he's one of those drone guys, yeah.
Good people doing it, but I think a lot of it's just got that stigma with it already, hasn't it? Oh,
yeah.
Here's drone guy, and I think because there's been so many cheap and nasty ones out there that
mm-hmm.
just take off and just have minds of their own, like Skynet or something. They're trying to take over the world and dive bombing people.
Oh, yeah. Or get taken out by eagles and such. That'd be kind of interesting.
Some of the new ones, it's
Uh-huh.
been the Phantom 4 Pro, that it's just got, like, really, they're flying themselves these days. They've got ones on there that they've got the front and rear detection, so you're not going to hit trees when you're going normally on there. You can put it up in the air, do a gesture, and it will follow you.
Oh, wow.
So you can put it up, say hover at this point, do that, then it will follow you. Then you can do a walking on the tree.
Sign
and
language.
Do that. Yeah, but then you do it like that, it'll take a picture. But they said the only problem with the take a picture one, you don't know, did it do it? And and when you have you done it again, and when you do your hand again, and then you get like you said, all that sort of thing. But there were just some of the fantastic things with the satellite navigation, just to hold them steady. They was showing them that just to hover at 5 feet, and he was dragging it down, just letting it go, and it just kept perfect height on it, where you can just tell it to take off, land, point, or just draw a circle on the map where you want it to go, and it will do that. And even now that these better ones, you pay a premium for it, of course. So
yeah.
But now when it gets down to 15% of battery power, automatically comes home.
Oh.
So you can't go any further. It says, no, I need that 15% to get home. So it automatically goes on to the return to home. But it's fascinating to have a look at. I would love to have one if there wasn't, but as I said, but I'd like, where are you going to fly it? You've got, because the only place you're going to fly it is to look at things of interest. And if it is, you're going to annoy people. So I thought maybe invest on the new camera and just be normal on the ground. You get enough complaints sometimes just videoing standing on the ground. So you're just going to get more if you do a drone, aren't you? So
yeah. Something I got to do when I was down in Florida. I know you said you were videoing, your mother. Having breakfast with my father, my wife and I, we were having breakfast with my father, each morning. And I was taking the Zoom H2N, which is a little small thing. It'll fit in your hand like this. And it's got microphones where you can do a complete 360 recording. And there was a little napkin holder in the middle of the table. And as we were sitting down, just sitting right there, I would turn the thing on and turn the recording on and just set it right down in the middle of that napkin holder, and then we would just have breakfast. And I'd prompt Daddy to tell stories about this and stories about that. And it's not going to be an extremely high fidelity recording, but it's just us three in the middle of the table talking, and I did that for 3 or 4 or 5 mornings while I was down there. And so I haven't had a chance to go into those recordings and see how all that has turned out. That was pretty cool. But also, I got to do another voiceover for the Verses in Vox people.
Oh, okay.
The poetry people. This is actually my 4th one. The cool thing about it is, I had mentioned this last year. I got the notification or the request whenever I was in Florida, and the poem that they asked me to do was one of my father's favorite poems ever.
What a coincidence that is.
Well, they knew about it, but they, and I had mentioned it, like you say, it was last year sometime when I had mentioned, it'd be cool if I could do that, because that was one of my father's favorite poems. But while I was in Florida, they actually did that. So as soon as I got back, I did the actual voiceover. And I told Daddy about it while I was down there, and he's thrilled. He's excited. And I let him see the text of the poem, and he says, well, I forgot about that part. I mean, he used to quote this all the time, just every now and then. He would just start quoting this poem, and he loves it. And so, and I was just sent another email by JD. He's the guy that runs Porchlight Family Media. Anyway, and he told me that it should be the original music has been composed and performed, and the artwork is done, and he said it should be completely finished by the end of the month, so that they'll be able to play it for my father down in Florida whenever they produce it and it's finished. So I mean they really have fast tracked this, and they understand what's going on, and that my father's ill, and I really appreciate Porchlight Family Media and the team, everybody that's working on this, because, like you say, they're really putting out to get this done, and I totally appreciate them. I really do.
It really makes a big difference when you're doing something like that. It's not just you love to do it anyway, but it's something that means so much to you as well, and it's just great for your father to hear it as well. So he'll get such a thrill out of it as well. So
it's hard. It's hard to do the voiceover. This is a poetry now, to do the because I've heard him say this, this parts of this poem so many times. And it was kind of hard to do the voiceover expressively and not tear up, while you're doing it, because it is such a part of our lives, and it means so much to him. And so I was, I did several takes on it, and picked what I deemed to be the best one, and they liked it, and so it's a good thing. But like you say, it's a very emotional thing to do this, to hear this poem, because I always like the poem anyway. But it's really an indictment on us and our lives. About the name of the poem is "The Village Smithy," I think's the actual name of the poem. But basically, you are comparing yourself to this village smith, a blacksmith, and the kind of life that he has and how he lives, and basically, do you measure up, to the virtue of this man, and but it's just a wonderful poem, and like you say, it was just a privilege to have a chance to do it, and then my dad have a chance to hear it. I'm just excited about that.
Yeah, well, make sure when they do publish it and that we get to send the link so I can have a listen to that, because I really enjoy that. I must admit, I do love audio. I love video as well, but I particularly like audio because I think that makes everything. Just that nice crisp sound, and you just can't beat that. Just have a nice voiceover, and like we've learned, it doesn't depends on who's saying it. It doesn't have to be a Hollywood actor with the perfect voice. Even like it said Uncle Mo. That was so nice. Like it was just so great just to listen to that audio. But it was so great to just listen to that accent. I just loved it, and just because those sounds, people just think it just sounds like it's out of a movie. That's how people talk, and it was just what really got me about it, like that Uncle Mo, was he's just sounding so funny and not silly. I'm trying to get the right word to not degrade it, but
jovial. But he was like, wow, it was just loving life. He was really after it.
But he's done so much, and I thought, this man, what he's been doing, and he's just talking about going to Singapore, doing this, doing that, fighting this, and I thought they had hard lives, and it was just a matter of fact, like you said, you're going down to Florida. Well, you just do that. But he was going to war.
And the bombs are being dropped around them, and blows the side out of the house. And then the guy that owns the house comes back and says, "Boy, those Americans sure do like big doors in their house." I mean, there's a joke. There is something humorous even in the middle of this horrible squalor and war, you have to laugh or you're going to cry, and so there's people like him that just keep everybody, in perspective on what's going on. Just an amazing storyteller. The guy's great.
And I reckon it'd be just a character but that's the thing in wartime. You need people like that, because how could you carry on? If you were just normal people just doing the day-to-day drudgery, you have to have real different people like that were like, he'd be there probably giving them a tune and that, and keeping the spirits up, because just listening to it for an hour, you got a feeling of what the fella was like, and you'd think he'd be great to have round, and he would rally you on and encourage you to say, it's not that bad, think about home, or something else. He would get you going when you was getting yourself down. But it was quite an interesting thing. I hope you haven't got any more of those, have you, or anything like that?
That's the only tape he sent us. I'm not sure how long he lived after that, because like you say, he was they were very nearly the same age, and So that would have put him in his 70s at that point. And we never did get another tape from him, never did get to hear from him. There was another letter, I think, sent back and forth, and then we hadn't heard from him again. So again, that's been 20 years ago, probably, since we've heard anything from him at all. I just discovered this in the middle of a bunch of cassettes that we had. Oh, I remember that, and went ahead and transferred it whenever I got that little device to do it with, and then I did some more audio enhancement on it before I released it for the show.
But that's what I want to do now. I'll just find different people, because they don't have to be relatives. As you was like, I got such a kick out of that. That fella, nothing to me as family, but just the story is so interesting. And I'm sure I've seen other ones where people interview people that unlikely subjects that you would think. And I think the only way you're going to find those sort of gems is film a lot of people, just try and get a lot of people tell their stories. Might be rubbish, might not be interesting, but you don't know until you ask, do you?
Oh, exactly. And where everything's digital, it's not like you're having to keep coming up with buy new cassette tapes or something. I mean, all you got to do is okay, it's in there. You can delete it right in the thing if you need to. But that's what my dream is when I retire, is to take my little H5 recorder here, the Zoom, and go out there. And you can hook a microphone into it, get one of the interview type mics with the longer barrel on it, The Rode has one, and some other people, and just go up to people, hand them a card, and say, hey, I'm Geoff Holbrook. I'm with the WV podcast, and it's about the state of West Virginia and people telling their own stories. I'd like to just talk to you. Were you in the war? Or somebody at their business or something, tell how they got their business started, and little tourist things, little stop at the old folks' home, and let some of them tell their stories. I mean, there's just so many stories out there, and all this is just within about 3 hours travel of my house at any given time, different parts of the state, and there's people all over the world that would want to hear the stories, and they would just get used to coming to your show and listening to these stories.
And there's so many people out there that would love to just have a chat to talk about, because how many people out there just don't say things because they say, people are just fed up. They're just fed up with me saying about this, because usually family members have heard it all before. They don't want to be said, but somebody new, they would get such a thrill. Like I find when you talk to people and you don't know them, they'll love to go through their stories if you've never heard them before. But that's what I'm hoping to see, if I can find somewhere where in the residential home where Mum is, if there's other people there that can tell their story. But I'm already mindful I'll try and get a release form and get relatives, if they're there, to say it's okay to do it, because because there's no point doing it but even then I'll keep it to myself. But it might be something I want to put together and do a little 5-minute things on people, because I remember what got me started was there was a Vimeo. If you're ever interested in a lot of this, Vimeo is such good content. Like YouTube has everything, whereas Vimeo, what that seems to have is more of these like independent movie makers, these little grabs on it. And one of these ones was an interview. This fellow was walking down Hollywood Boulevard, and he went into this old little junk shop, antique shop, and this old lady was serving him, and he started talking to her, and he interviewed her. And then it turns out in the 30s, in her heyday, she was dancing with all the stars. She was extras in films, and her and her sister used to go out with all the stars of the day. And it was such an interesting film, but she's just got this little shop that probably nobody goes into. She doesn't need every now and then somebody might buy a $5 little trinket that they had. But it was just so interesting, and she was probably in her 90s. And it was just so interesting of thinking what they're in their heyday and that. And she was just enjoying so much about talking about it. But it's the sort of thing that nobody would have probably realized. Just somebody, he happened to ask her and said, would you mind me just switching the camera on and interviewing you, and turned it into a little 5-minute movie. So really interesting. Really did enjoy that. So that's a trick. Do more with the equipment we do have. And that's why when I'm looking at a new camera, I thought, well, if I start using my current ones, I can justify that. I can have another camera because it does so many good things. See, I'm convincing myself, aren't I, really?
Oh, yeah,
I know
no.
in the back, like Rick and I said, I don't need it. I definitely don't need it, but I want it. That's the thing is, is that really, if you said I had to need, the iPhone will do everything you want. You can do interviews on that. If you don't tell anybody any differently and just put it together, nobody would know you did it on an iPhone probably anyway, especially if you stuck it on a little tripod. So, but it's really different. So, what else did I do this week? I'm just trying to think if I did anything. Oh, it's got nothing to do with tech. I've had a big clean out of the wardrobe since we last spoke.
Okay.
Because there was a flyer that came through the mailbox that said we have a recycle pickup every second week, for your paper and that you have your recycle. So you have your rubbish bin with all your normal rubbish and your recycle bin. And they said, okay, after this week, there's another one the next day, but it's going to be put all your old clothes in, to take to the opportunity shop or to give to the poor. So I thought, I've got to bite the bullet. So I went through my whole wardrobe because there's things in there you never wear. Perfectly good shirts. And I know shirts I bought, put on. No, I really don't like the feel of that. No, I hate it. And you just put it back in the cupboard and think it'll come into fashion another month down the track. And I thought, it's quite amazing what you find in your cupboards when you go to chuck things out. And I spent a whole 4 hours opening it, trying everything on because I thought
Does this fit anymore? Yeah.
And it's amazing how many things you get stuck in there that you think, why did I stop wearing that? Because it wasn't in front. It got pushed back and in there, so you just never saw it because, I never use them. So, so I had about 3 huge garbage bags and put them in the recycle for pickup on that. But it's just quite amazing what we do all hoard and that these days. So.
Yeah, you just don't think about it. I know that I have shirts that I wear to work, and it's an informal place where I'm working at, and so I'll be wearing a shirt, t-shirts, things like that when I go to work. Well, I ended up with 3 or 4 new t-shirts while I was on the trip. Found some, a good sale on them, whatever, just while we were traveling. And so whenever I came back home, I go to I have a basket that's on a shelf, and that's where my t-shirts are at. And so just to make sure I've got room for these new ones that are my new favorites, I go through the t-shirts that are in there, and they're in 2 stacks in this basket. I pulled a stack out this tall that fits, but I never get around to wearing.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry.
Put that 2 on the top, and you wear those 2.
Yeah,
and then you wash
so
it. They go on the top again.
What I did was took that stack and just set them up on the shelf above, and now I've got room in my basket for all of those probably 20 favorite shirts. So I've got enough shirts to wear for a month to work of my favorites. Okay, but then there's these other shirts that are perfectly great shirts. I just don't wear them to work very often because I've got all these other favorites that I'm wearing. And so, yeah, I'm going to have to go ahead and probably go ahead and jettison a few of those myself.
That's what I did. And as I said, found all these ones of them. It's just I'd forgotten I had that one. And so I've put them in a line. And so now I'm going through. So now that one, then it's that. And just put them in. Don't throw them just at the back. Put them in the range so you start using them. Because I do the same things. You put it in the same area when you wash it, hang it up, and then you just use it again. And so it's the same 3 or 4 shirts you wear all the time. And then it never gets to the end of it. And then by the time you do get to that, it's either you don't like it or you put on too much weight to do that on there. So I never mind. You never have the problem losing too much weight because it never seems to happen. If it does, you can always have things that are a little bit too big for you, but I can't stand things that are a little bit too tight for me. So I just don't like that too much. So I've got to really watch on that. And also, you notice I went back to the little earphone this week.
Sure.
Only reason I did because I've got the big one, but when I want to look at the screen, I can't because to keep it out of the shot, I can't see the screen.
Right. Yeah. You have to turn. Plus, if you turn and look right into it, then all of a sudden it's like, rah, 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 rah,
It's not too bad, that one. It works quite well, but it's this one's good because it's just, you don't have to worry about like that. This other one, I've got this. Even where I still can't stop. There you can. There it is now. Oh, just there. Yeah. So that's just now. I can't see me monitor.
Okay. Yeah. There you go.
Monitor.
Oh, one thing I think we forgot to say was that this is the weekly catch-up number 38.
Oh, yes, I was going to say that because I nearly said it's the 38. Yes, I nearly forgot to say that because it is number 38. I was tossing up whether it was, so I went back to our last show to make sure that was 37.
Well, I had my paper here, and I had the 37 on this page, and then 38. So I had to check myself.
I'm sure I'd updated it as well. So also as well. So when we go back into Dale, when we fall back for our winter time, then you'll be the same time, but then I'll be 8 o'clock.
Yes.
So that's the different times.
Yeah, as long as I change on my time and you change on your time, we'll be staying right together.
But it's always puts me off a bit because I know you spring forward, but when you spring forward, it pushes me back. Doesn't it? So then you have to. It's really strange, that one. And then when I go back, then that's fine. But it just does your mind. You just got to live with it, that it's going to be this time, and just don't think about it, because if you think about it too much, and I'm glad I mentioned that to Rick because he had no idea it was changing that weekend. So
yeah.
I said, yes, I think it is changing tonight. So because it was Saturday on his time and we hadn't changed yet. So. And then I'm sure that they were changing, but you all change at the same time there, don't you? You don't know. Whereas our silly thing here, sometimes at one stage, we had the states all changing at different times, which caused chaos. Like, we was going to do it this week, then the other states are going to do next week, but then the other one did it the week after.
Right.
And that caused, whereas you've really got to do it all at the same time. And there was somebody I was listening to on another podcast in California was saying, they said they've got nothing against the daylight saving time. It's just the fact that why don't we just keep it all the time, and why don't we have a world time and not bother having it at 9:44 p.m. my time and 6:44, is it 7:44 p.m. or 6:44 p.m. your time?
Yes, a.m.
Say don't have it 6:44 a.m. your time. Let's just have one time. Let's say it's 9:44, but and just keep that, or have it the 24-hour clock, and you just get used to 1,700 hours being in the middle of the night or something like that. Or
yeah, well, like you say, there's people like me. I work shift work, so I'm awake at night. I get off. Actually, I'm doing a different job at work now, and so it actually changed my days off too. So I got off this morning at 2:30 this morning, and
okay,
and then so of course that's still plenty of time to do the show, and so even if I work over, I'll still be able to get here in plenty of time for a 6 o'clock show. But
your 6 o'clock show is probably the same as my 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's how we met in the first place. We were working and sleeping during the exact same period, except for me, it's at night, and for you, it's during the day.
Yeah.
And that's how we met in the first place. So, it works out great.
Because we're actually on this, where rather than Rick were on the wrong day, whereas us were on the same day at least. It's still it's Wednesday. We don't have to worry about the different days and that. So, but it's all different. As I said, it would be nice to have a world time, I think, but I don't think that would ever happen.
Well, like you say, what if it was on the time that you're on? It'd be 9 o'clock at night. Well, here it would be 9 in the morning. I mean, but it would be morning, but it would be considered 9 o'clock at night.
I know, but what they would say,
so it'd be kind of weird.
If we said, but it's on the 24-hour clock, so say it was 1,700 hours.
Sure.
But people just have to get used to 1,700 hours. In my time might be the evening, but in your time it might be lunchtime.
They would probably cue it off of Greenwich or something. They'd probably cue it off of Greenwich.
And let's face it, we only know that midnight's late at night because we've grown up with that. It could be the afternoon tea time or something if that was the time in your area. But I mean,
well, here's I having tea, in the middle of the night. So
that's right. And it just said, have you ever watched that? I forget what it was. It was I think it was a Robin Williams one where he goes to live up in Alaska. I think it was Robin Williams.
Yeah, I think I know the movie. I'm trying to remember the title of it. Great
And it
Outdoors
just,
or something like that.
I nearly went crazy watching it because it was just saying how crazy people go up there when you've got 6 months days and 6 month nights, and when because you don't know it's daytime all the time, and you can go stir crazy because your body just not used to you can't go to sleep when the sun's out. That's fine one day, but not all the time. You just aching for nighttime, and then when you get nighttime, you're just there for 6 months. You just can't stand it. You'll go crazy. So.
Well, what's hilarious is all these records you hear for the biggest pumpkin grown and stuff like that. They're always up in Alaska, and the reason why is because their growing season is set up to where the sun never goes down, so they don't go dormant at night and then start growing again the next day. They just keep ripping right along, so you end up with some kind of a 700 or 800 pound pumpkin because it just didn't quit. You go out there and it's like bigger. You can almost watch it doing it, and it's there's so many oddities to different parts of the world and the way people look at things and the habits that you develop because of where you live. Like you say, with 6 months on and 6 months off, that would just completely change, the way you interact with the world. It would be amazing.
But you can already say our daylight saving time should have finished, but as I said, with the 6 month on, 6 month off. But it's quite strange. As soon as you go past the normal time we're supposed to switch, like you did the other week, you can already see that it's starting to be darker in the mornings and getting dark later, earlier. It's starting to pull in. It's starting to become winter. And I don't know about you're just going out of that, because I know last week that was another thing. You was going to have these terrible storms there last week. I saw in Virginia they were saying, so I don't know if West Virginia I know it should be nearby, but they was having really bad ones in Virginia, they said last week. So.
My brother up north in Pennsylvania, the next state up above us up there, I think they had close to 3 feet of snow, and we just got missed completely. Whenever I was in Florida, I understand they got a little bit of snow, and we had a little dusting a couple of times after I got back, but I've basically missed winter altogether this year, even though north and south of us, they've been hit pretty hard a couple times. But just the weather patterns are set up to where, coming right across West Virginia, it splits, goes above, goes below, and just doesn't hit us for some reason. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, but as I said, I'm looking forward to winter because I really don't mind winter. I enjoy walking the dog on the beach. Sure. In the winter, howling a gale, pouring with rain, because you can't do that in summer. You can't take the dogs down onto the beach. And plus, I'm not a beach person. I don't like it in the hot, sunny weather. I much prefer it in the winter because you get some good shots on the beach. Because when it's nice and sunny, there's people there, and you feel a bit strange with cameras out on beaches when it's nice and sunny. So whereas when there's nobody out there, you don't mind so much doing that. Anyway, it looks like we've nearly finished. We've nearly gone over that because we started about 1:45, I think, didn't we? So
yeah, that's when you called. I think it's probably right at an hour right now, I would imagine.
Yeah, just about on an hour, because I saw you was on nice and early, but I thought I won't call you too early, just in case you're doing something else and that. So, and so we'd say our next show still should be okay for show 39 next week on the 29th.
Not 29th March.
I had the 22nd and I forgot to put the 29th.
39 to 29 March.
The 29th. What it is. So glad I saw that. The 29th of March.
Yeah, I'd like to hear Uncle Mo say that.
Wow,
next week it'd be show number 39, 29 March.
29. The 29th of March. Anyway, all the people watching, or all the people not watching, thank you very much. And
All of those, yeah.
so each time we go live, you'll get a notification that we have gone live. I don't know if I've got a friend here, I don't know if she's watching, but I'm wanting to do a show with her if she's interested to start up another one, because I thought it'd be really nice to do a different one. So I'm going to have a talk to her. So hopefully we can do another show, because, as I said, if nobody likes it, well, you haven't spent $100,000 putting a production together, have you? So we've just put this together. So anyway, thank you everybody for watching, and we'll catch you on the weekly catch up next week. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for listening. Links for a free subscription, feedback, and everything else we do is at holbrooknewmedia.com. You can find all things Geoff Blanchard at geoffblanchard.com.